Hello and welcome to a video from filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. I'm Chris with a K. Today we're going to be looking at scraping some information from a website that has a login form. So we're going to go log in, pull some information, all from the shell. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we are looking at a basic login form. I created this just for these tutorials. You can go to filmsbychris.com/2024//web scraping. There'll be a link in the description to that URL along with all the notes that we're going over in this video. And it's asking for a username and password. And if we type in the username Neo and the password, and click login, it will bring us to this page, which is the same web URL with the /login at the end there. Now, if we were to go to our shell here and use wget with the -O option and a dash, that means standard output. So it should dump the content of that page to the terminal here. But if we run it, it's going to tell us that it has failed, that we need to authenticate it with a username and password. So how can we go about doing that? Well, there's two ways you can do it. There's an old way of doing it, which is really not suggested. Doesn't really make a difference at the terminal here. But you can actually put a username and password right in the URL. You can do https://neo: whatever the password is, and then the rest of the URL. And in the shell, it's not making much of a difference because we're going to be typing out our username and password either way. But doing this in a web browser is kind of a bad idea, typing your password right into the URL. But you could do that, and as you can see, it does dump the content of that page. A slightly more proper way to do it is with wget to use the --user option and then give the username, and then you can do --password and give it the password, followed by the URL, and when you do that, again, it will log in and dump all the information. Doing that, when we run it, as you can see, there will be a moment where it shows the progress right there. We don't necessarily want that, so we can run the same command, but what we can do is add the lowercase q option. So wget -q, O-, and that will just say quiet mode, and then it will dump out the information without any information. But if you're having difficulties, remove that Q, and it might tell you what is going on. Now, let's say we're looking at this page, and I want to grab the link in this GitLab button. So we can run that same command, and what I can do is I can say grep. Right, you can use a lot of grep when you're going through web pages like this. And we'll get more into scraping information after logging in future videos. And there are tools, HTMLQ, which is similar to JQ, kind of does this stuff for you. But if you want to just use grep, I could say grep. I'm going to say -I because I'm looking for this button, but I'm also looking for a Git URL. So I'm looking for anything that says Git. So -I means case insensitive. I run that. It gives me that line because my page is nicely formatted. That button is just on one line. And of course, from there, if I just want this URL, there's different things we can do, but we can just pass that into the cut command with a delimiter of the quotation marks and say the second field, and then we get that URL. So that's one way to scrape that information from there. So we've looked at that. wget is a great tool. It is on most systems. It's built into BusyBox, but some people like curl. Curl can be a little bit more powerful. We're going to work with that in the future as well. But just to show you to log into that page using curl, I'm going to use the -s option, which is the same as the q option in wget, just saying quiet. And then we can say -u, and I can say neo: and the password, and then the URL, and that will dump the information. And of course, we can take that and add on to that our grep command. So I can say grep -I git and then cut delimiter quotation marks -f for field 2, and that will return that URL. So that's how to log into a page using both curl and wget if you know the username and password, which is great if you need to log in and just grab some information. But I will tell you what, if you need to grab a lot of information from a website, if you put the username and password like this into your wget or curl command for everything you pull, you're going to be logging in every single time. And I can tell you from experiences, companies don't like when you log in over 100 times every 10 minutes or hour. So there are ways to store cookies and also pass authentication information to the server. So you're not logging in. You log in once, store that information, and log in again. We're going to be looking at that in future tutorials. But I hope you found this useful. If you need to just grab one thing from a website using username and password, these are the ways you can pass it into these commands in your shell. Thanks for watching. Please visit filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. There's a link in the description. I hope that you have a great day.